Hope. Now, a lot of things in life go the way we want them to. Things go well, sometimes life is enjoyable, but we also, unfortunately, live in a world that's uncertain, where things don't go our way, where things are frustrating and difficult. We live in a world with slow walkers when you're trying to get somewhere on time. We live in a world with bus replacements for trains when you're trying to get to London. We unfortunately live in a world where we don't always get enough sleep that we would like. We live in a world where people eat with their mouths open. We live in a world where your phone dies on 30% battery life for some strange reason. We live in a world where you say goodbye to someone and then you kind of have to stand with them awkwardly because you haven't actually left them yet. Or we live in a world where we run out of small talk topics in the coffee break, where we have to kind of try and come up with something else to say. We live in a world where we can stub our toe and cry and fall and hurt ourselves. And we live in a world which is not always perfect. We live in a world that isn't always perfect. We can't rely on everything. Doesn't matter what goes on, doesn't matter how much we understand or how much we can try and control. Unfortunately, there are things out of our grasp. We live in a world that is uncertain. But I believe that we can, in that, have hope. I believe that in that world we can find hope. Things may fail, fade, depreciate, and tragically die, but I believe we can have hope. And that's kind of the topic that I'm looking at this morning. As you can see, we've been looking at a series called Life, Where's the Pause Button? And essentially that's kind of looking at areas of our lives and seeing what God can input into certain areas of our life. So today I'm looking at today I'm looking at how do you find hope in an uncertain world? And I want to ask, firstly, the question, what is hope? What is this thing called hope? See, the English is a funny language, right? Because we can have one word that can mean a different thing in a different context, okay? So, for example, I could say, if I were to say that Tim was looking cool this morning, no, that's an if scenario, not a when scenario. If I was saying that Tim was looking cool this morning, I'm not saying he looks cold. I'm saying I think he looks all right. Maybe he's got some new shoes or he's got a new jacket on or something like that. But if I was to put my hand under a tap and say, oh, that water's cool, I'm not saying, oh, it's good-looking water. I'm saying it's cold water, right? So we've got one word but with different meanings depending on the way in which we use it. And so we have a way in which we use the word hope in our day-to-day language. And that is kind of, I hope that the weather stays nice, or I hope that there's no traffic, or I hope that it doesn't rain, or I hope that the next season on Netflix is as good as the last season, right? Those are kind of things that we'd like to happen. It's kind of a wish or a desire. We don't actually know if it will happen, but we would like it to. So that's one of the ways in which we use the word hope. And the other reason I believe that we use the word hope is in this. This is a definition that I would have attached to kind of the deeper meaning. Hope is a confidence in something that makes us feel secure about our future and brings purpose and comfort to our present. Hope is a confidence in something that makes us feel secure about our future. In other words, we're not worried, we're not stressing out about the future if we've got a solid hope. And it's something that brings purpose, motivation to our present, and comfort, reassurance to our present when things aren't going the way we'd like them to go. Hope is a confidence in something that makes us feel secure about our future and brings purpose and comfort to our present. Now, because it's Easter time, I thought it'd be good to kind of have a way of putting this. So I've got some baskets, and I've got some Cadbury cream eggs. Now, I actually have less Cadbury cream eggs than I did this morning because someone has been eating them in the break. So I've got a couple wrappers in here. I won't name names, Tim. I won't name names. So this basket represents something in my life, okay? It could be anything. Let's say it's my bank account, okay? This basket represents my bank account. And these eggs represent my confidence, okay? And what happens is I put my confidence in the bank account. I put my confidence in there, and then I'll be able to say, I've got hope in my bank account. And if I also have all of them in there, then it'd be like my entire hope is in my bank account. Okay, maybe because of the amount of money I've got in there, my future is okay. I'm going to be all right. My future's secure, and then also my present is comforting. I'm okay. I can purchase stuff that's going to be all right, and I've got a purpose as well because of what's in my bank account. That's an example there. Now, we all do this. It may not be bank account for you. It could be all manner of things. It could be in the government or in achievements or in your workplace or whatever else it might be. We put our hope in things in this world. We put our confidence in things. And the problem is we live in a world of uncertainty and instability. We live in a world where things let us down. And this basket may seem secure. It may seem like this bank account's never going to let me down until it does let me down. As an example, in 2008, there was a housing market crash. The world entered into kind of Great Recession, and a lot of people lost their jobs. Millions of people lost their jobs, and a lot of people kind of lost a lot of money as well. And a study was done, and it was found that this number, but probably more as well, people committed suicide. So 10,000 people, they think, died, ended their life because they had nothing left, because they put their whole hope and confidence into the basket, and the basket let them down. And suddenly there was no future security for them, and there was no present comfort and purpose, and so they decided they could see no future for themselves, and they ended it. And that's a really tragic and morbid example, but I think it's an extreme example of a lot of things that can happen in our life. We put our hope in a lot of things. We put a lot of our hope in the things of this world. If the world is uncertain, unstable, insecure, perishable, and subject to death, then anything in this world that we put our hope in is also going to be uncertain, unstable, insecure, perishable, and subject to death. Adversity, there's a phrase, adversity that crushes my hope. My hope has been crushed. I actually think it's more likely that adversity simply reveals how fragile our hopes always were. It's not that suddenly when something happens, it's all destroyed. No, it was always fragile, and what's happened is it's just crumbled. And I don't want to be depressing this morning, and I also don't want to kind of attack you guys, or because I put my hope in a lot of other baskets as well. I'm not kind of apart from this one. We have an uncertain world. And so the question that I'm looking at is, how do you find hope in an uncertain world? I actually think a better question is, how do you find a certain hope in an uncertain world? Because all of these things that we put our hope in, we all do this. And the question, therefore, is how can we find something that's not going to let us down? How can we find something to put our hope in that won't fail or fade or crumble? See, there's nothing we can do about this. And so our natural response is to go, okay, spread your hopes thin. Just don't put all your eggs in one basket. If one thing's going to let you down and another thing's going to let you down, then just spread it out. So keep some in your bank account, but also put some of your hope in the government, and put some of your hope as well in, you might be your possessions. It could be your home or your house. We think, it's really important that we keep money in our bank account. That's really important, but we know that can let us down. So the government, we put hope in our government, although I think at the moment most of us are probably taking eggs out of the government basket. We live in a world that is uncertain, and there's a lot of things that we turn to find hope. So yeah, it might be property and possessions. Yeah, we've got the house. We're in the housing market. My future is secure because I've got the keys. And my present comfort is I'm going to be all right because it's all right. I've got the keys. Or it might be put your hope in the car. Or it might be another possession that you have. I used to work at the Co-op in Cookfield. I worked there a couple of years ago. I worked basically 2 days a week. And what I did for my life is I stacked shelves. And I checked and said, would you like a bag with that? And kind of checked people's items through. And my colleagues that worked with me also, we were all kind of the same age because it's kind of a job that people go to in a gap year kind of life. And my colleagues would stack shelves, Monday to Friday or, 4 or 5 days a week. And they'd do it for months and months on an end. And their hope was in their holiday. So my future security, put toothpaste here, crisps here. My future security is going to be in my holiday. I'm going to go to Magaluf and we're going to have a party and it's going to be incredible. We're going to dance all night. And that's what my hope's in over there. That's what my colleagues would say their hope was in. We're looking towards holiday. And maybe we wouldn't want to go to Magaluf, but maybe the south of France or skiing, or it could be going to Devon, or it could be going to Cornwall, or wherever else we go on holiday. Often we put our hope in that. We say, my future security is in that. My present purpose, the thing that I'm living for and working for, well, it's going to be the holiday that I'm going to be there in July, or it might be August or May, or whatever time that might be. Or take relationships, for example. We say, my hope's in my spouse, or my hope's in my girlfriend, or my hope's in my boyfriend, or my partner. My present comfort and my present purpose is in them because they love me and I love them, and my present security is in them as well. Now, that's amazing, and relationships are incredible, but if your hope's in your partner, then what happens when your partner can let you down, as people are known to do? Maybe it's entertainment. Maybe you're living for the Netflix binges. You're living for the night when you can just shut off all the distractions and just play through Top Gear or play through, whatever else it might be on a box set or an iPlayer or something like that. Living for entertainment. Future security, that's in my entertainment. My current purpose, I'm just going to get through today and I can go into the evening. And maybe it's not Netflix, it could be your Xbox or PlayStation or something like that. Future security, that's in entertainment. I think a massive one that we as a culture put our eggs in, the basket we put our eggs in, is in ourselves. I think we put our hope in ourselves. We have phrases like, I'm a self-made man, or follow your dreams, or if you put your mind to it, you can achieve anything. What happens is we put in our hope in ourselves. And that might be our skills, that might be our appearance, that might be our achievements. I remember a couple of years ago, I kind of finished my A-levels and went to pick up my exam results. And they kind of give you an envelope and you open it up and you got letters there, of what you scored in all your grades. And I can remember going there and a lot of people were excited, I got this, I got that. But a lot of other people were not. They were crying, and there was girls with mascara running down their face, and guys who were once kind of like, woohoo, and now all kind of like sitting by themselves with a lump in their throat because they put their hope in their grades. They put their hope in their educational achievements, and then suddenly what's happened is that's let them down. And there's no future security. I was going to go to uni, but I can't go anymore. I was going to go here, but I can't do that. And the present purpose as well is gone. And present security is gone. Oh, what am I going to do? And crying. And it was actually quite difficult to see. There's people who put their hope in things that are going to let them down. And we all do this. I may not have named your one. It could be social media or something else. But we all put our hope in things in this life. We all put our hope in things in this life. And the unfortunate thing is, they all can let us down. We know these things can let us down, but we still put our hope in them. As if putting your hope in lots of different things is going to prevent any of them from falling and you having to suffer kind of a serious sense of like hopelessness and difficulty. But And that might seem like a fair shout. That's just kind of like insurance, really, I guess. It's not necessarily, on the face of it, a bad thing to do. But the reality is, spreading your hopes out doesn't guarantee they're not going to fail you. If anything, having more things to put your hope in simply means you have more things to let you down about. And not only that, and again, I don't want to get too morbid, but all worldly hopes have no confidence and security in death. All worldly hopes end in death. There's nothing that you can put your hope in that is of this world that is going to last beyond the grave. You could have 100 baskets or 1,000 baskets, hoping all sorts of different things, but ultimately, they're either going to let you down or at the end, they're going to have no consequence. And this is kind of a hopeless situation, and it's quite a dark and depressing situation in some senses, but it is into that situation that the Bible brings hope, genuine hope. In 1 Peter 1 verse 3, it says, "Praise be to the God and Father of our Lord Jesus Christ." In other words, well, hey, it's all good, thank goodness, thank goodness. Why? In his great mercy, he has given us new birth into a living hope through the resurrection of Jesus Christ from the dead, and into an inheritance that can never perish, spoil, or fade. This inheritance is kept in heaven for you. Peter, the person who's writing this, he's celebrating. He said, thank goodness. God in his mercy has provided us with a living hope. A living hope. If all worldly hopes end, unfortunately, tragically, in death, then the biblical hope is alive. A living hope. The Bible's saying, there's another way. Don't spread your hopes thin. No, put all your eggs in one basket. Put all your eggs in one basket. Just make sure that the basket you put them in is going to not fail you. That's what Peter's saying in that verse. We're called to one living hope. One hope that is certain. One hope that is secure. One hope that will never fail. One hope that is confident. One hope that is firm. One hope that will not put us to shame. Not lots of different baskets. One basket that's never going to let us down. One hope with all our confidence placed in it. And so you might be thinking, okay, that sounds like a decent kind of hope. But what actually is that hope? If that's kind of what it's supposed to be like, what is the thing that we're hoping in? And that verse kind of picks out two things. It says, in his great mercy, he's given us new birth. And the second thing is, and an inheritance that can never perish, spoil, or fade, that is kept in heaven for us. Peter's saying, look, this living hope is a new birth, and it's an inheritance that we receive in heaven. Now, just on the topic of a new birth, when Jesus came on this earth, he kind of lived and he died on the cross, removing our sin and our shame and our guilt, and he rose from the dead. And he says, and then he ascended into heaven. He says, I will be with you. My Holy Spirit will be with you always. That the new birth that he calls us to is something when we put our faith in him, it's like we're raised into a new kind of life, and it's a life where God is with us, where God never fails to be with us. This new birth, that present comfort, is the fact that Jesus is never going to leave us. He's never going to forsake us. He's always going to be with us. And then the second part that he talks about is an inheritance kept for the future. And one of the clearest verses that I've found that describes this is in the book of Job. And Job is written a long time before the New Testament. In fact, it's probably the oldest book of the Bible. But Job writes prophetically about the future, and his life is in tatters. His family are gone, and his property is gone, and his sense of income is gone, and he's sick himself. But he says this, he says, all my hopes are in one basket. And this is what he says, I know that my Redeemer lives, and that in the end he will stand upon the earth, and after my skin has been destroyed, yet in my flesh I will see God. I myself will see him with my own eyes, I and not another. Oh, how my heart yearns within me. He's talking about heaven. That's what he's talking about. And we've kind of got this common cultural idea in our minds that heaven's all about fluffy clouds with golden lampstands and like, cherubim with little babies with wings, with arrows and things. And that's not what Job's describing. And some of that may be vaguely true, but he's saying in the end, he's certain of one thing: he will see God. He will see God. His Redeemer will stand upon the earth. He's saying, all my eggs, I know this, all my eggs are in one basket, that one day Jesus will return and make all things new. All pain, all suffering, all sickness, all uncertainty, all imperfections are going to go. How's that going to happen? Well, I'm going to die, but despite my death, I will have a new body and I'll be able to interact with God in the flesh. I'll be able to see him in the flesh. And not just see him, but enjoy him. Enjoy his presence. Enjoy his goodness. Enjoy his abundant blessing. That's the inheritance that Peter's talked about. That's the hope that Job is talking about. That one day we, if our eggs are in the basket, will see God and know him fully and be encouraged by him and find joy in him and be loved by him. Every tear wiped away, every hurt healed, and all hunger satisfied. But you might be thinking, but that's a future thing though, right? How can I be certain of that now? If I'm trying to find a certain hope in a world of uncertainty, how can I find certainty in that if that's just way over there in the future? Well, Peter says this, and Peter says he gave us new birth into a living hope through the resurrection of Jesus Christ. Job says, I know that my Redeemer lives. In other words, it all hinges on Jesus' resurrection. It all hinges on whether or not Jesus rose from the dead. If he rose from the dead, then we can know we will also. And if he didn't rise from the dead, then it's all worthless. If Jesus did not rise from the dead, then all these eggs can go in all these other baskets because there's no hope that is certain. Let's just spread it all out. But I believe that Jesus did rise from the dead. I believe that Jesus' resurrection was a historical, certifiable event that we can be sure of. And because we can, I believe we can be sure of our future resurrection as well. You might be thinking, well, how can you know that? And that's a really great question, and I recommend you try Alpha, because Alpha really explores a lot of these kind of questions and explores how we can be certain of whether or not Jesus rose from the dead. And I believe it is a certainty that we can have. So please find out more about Alpha if you'd like to know that. But our resurrection, our future hope is based upon the fact that Jesus also rose from the dead. How do you find a certain hope in an uncertain world? Look to the empty tomb. He has risen, and so shall we. Now, if I'm honest, I've got a lot of baskets. I've got a lot of things that I put my confidence in. A lot of things. I put my confidence in myself. I put my confidence in my people around me. I put my confidence in the things that I own and the things that I get to be able to do. I put my confidence. I have a lot of baskets. And I think all of us, if we were honest, would say, yeah, so do I. I've got a lot of baskets. And so the temptation is then to say, okay, I quite like this idea of this Jesus hope. I quite like this idea of this basket. What am I going to do? I'll just tag it on the end of my baskets. So you kind of got your bank account here and your educational achievements, and you kind of got the government here, and then you've got friends and family, and then you've got property, and then you've got this, and you've got that, and you've got social media, and you've got your appearance, and you've got et cetera, et cetera. And then over here you've got the Jesus basket. I'll just tag it on to the rest of them. He can be another thing that I can put a little bit of my hope in. But the thing is, Jesus is not content with just being another basket. He's not content with just being another basket. This hope that I've described, you can only have this hope if all your eggs are in the basket. You can only have that certain hope if all of your confidence is placed on it. That's the thing that Jesus is saying here. You've got to have them all in your basket. We have a finite number of eggs. We can't just keep putting more and more. We know we have to withdraw our confidence in one thing and move them and put them in Jesus. And that doesn't mean we say, well, I'll sell my house and I'll live by myself and never have a relationship again. Those things are good. They're not bad things. But what's the problem is when we put our confidence in them, because they're never going to hold up. They're always going to let us down. Jesus says, don't sell your house or anything like that unless you feel you really, really should. And then talk to us if you do. But don't do that. No, just withdraw your hope from it and place it into the Jesus basket. Take your eggs and put them in the Jesus basket. Just tagging him to the back of a line won't help unless you're willing to withdraw your confidence in some of these things and place them in him. That's a choice that we have to make. It doesn't just happen, we have to choose it. We have to choose it. Are we going to place our confidence in the hope of the gospel, or are we just going to tag it on the end? So my question I got for you this morning is, what eggs have you put your baskets in? How many have you got? How many have you got? See, how do you find a certain hope in an uncertain world? Well, I believe, look to the empty tomb. He is risen and so shall we. Now we just have to choose, is that a basket I'm willing to put all of my eggs in? Band, I'd like you to get up and just start singing. I believe that this isn't just an intellectual thing where you can just kind of think about it. I believe this is actually a relational thing that happens as we talk and dialogue and spend time with God, which means that we're going to sing a song now, and I want you to, I really encourage you to kind of interact with God here. Be honest with yourself. Where is your hope? Where is it? And are you going to need to withdraw your confidence in something and place it in another thing? Place it in Jesus. He really, really cares for us. He really, really loves us. It's the best thing for us. It's the most secure thing that we can do.